Looks like we are live. Are we? Like, wait, something's wrong. Okay. Hmm. I'm gonna wait a couple more minutes before I start. Mhm. Looks like at least my colleagues are joining the stream. It's very nice of you. Is the audio okay? Video okay? Hmm. That's weird. Let's see. How do I fix that? Wait, is that? Ooh, what's going on? Input. Hmm. Let's see. No, it's still just one. What's happening? No, it's not your expensive headset, it's my expensive microphone. Apparently. Let's see if I can fix that. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see. What's happening? Hmm. Let's see. It's still a one channel, right? Hmm. I'm using Streamlabs and I added my expensive Focusrite external sound card there and it doesn't seem to work for some reason. Hmm. Let me try something. It's not getting better. Well, is it not enjoyable this way? Sorry, folks. I have no idea how to fix this. I can Google it. Streamlabs. I don't want a video. I only want... mono output. How do I do that? Down mix to mono. It's disabled. Why is it disabled? Something's weird going on. Oops. Okay, I think I found the setting. Let's see if this helps. Okay. Now I've set it to mono. If it's okay, let me know. And I can finally start doing this. Cool. I learned something new as well today. All right. So, what I'm gonna do today actually is building a new module from scratch for a tool called xcaddy. And the end goal is actually to build a Dagger pipeline for a project called xcaddy FSS3. It's a file system module for a web server called xcaddy. If you're not familiar with it, it's a web server written in Go. And in Go, there is no good way to, how should I say this, to handle runtime, dynamic runtime dependencies. And there are a couple of different ways to like mimic that, but some of the solutions like xcaddy provide a way for you to basically recompile the whole software with additional plugins. And this is a plugin for xcaddy, and they built a tool called xcaddy that allows you to basically recompile the whole software and embed your modules in it. And what I would like to do eventually is build a Dagger CI pipeline for this project, but I'm gonna need an xcaddy module first. I could obviously just start building a module for or a CI pipeline for this project, but why do things the easy way when you can do them the hard way? So today I'm gonna create a module, a Dagger module for xcaddy, and then probably in a follow-up stream, I will build a CI pipeline for this project. I'm gonna close this very secret business document. And I've used xcaddy before. I actually used it in this project already, so I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I haven't really done anything here as a preparation to building a module for xcaddy. So you get to see me struggle as I try to build a module for it. So first step of oops. So the first step of building a module for me is always going to my Daggerverse repo. Let's check out the main branch and creating just an empty module using my trusty init script. It's gonna be called xcaddy. And it's basically going to create an empty module with some defaults where I can start building the module for xcaddy. And in the meantime, we can check out the README and see some of the options they have in the CLI. I usually like building like a complete module, not just one with my needs. Like in my case, I just need basically one option for this to work. But I will try to like build a complete module for this whole thing. So, and primarily I will be using the xcaddy build command here. So you can see, maybe I should zoom in a little. How do I do that? I don't know. It's not zooming in. Okay. So you can give it a version of xcaddy you want to use. You probably don't need the output. We are going to use Dagger for that. There are a couple other options here for giving it plugins. You can embed files in it. And I think there are a couple other things you can, down here. Like you can specify build flags for the Go command. You can, what else can you do? Like you can skip building and just preparing the main.go file. Under the hood, xcaddy basically just generates a main.go file for you. Yes, if you go to my Daggerverse repo, Daggerverse, on my GitHub page, you can you can see the just file here. Can I put this in the chat? So, so basically, xcaddy just generates a main.go file for you, and then calls go build and gives you the binary. So maybe we can, like, thinking a little bit ahead, maybe we can just use these for, I don't know, an inspect function where you can go in the actual container and play with the generated file. But yeah, let's not get that ahead. Let's see, do we have the module here? Yeah, the Dagger init command completed, and we have an xcaddy module with my, oh, actually, it's not my template. Why is it not my template? I don't know. Well, this is the default Dagger init template. Doesn't matter. So before I start Daggerizing it, let's actually try to use the xcaddy command itself. I'm going to exit from here for a moment. Do I have xcaddy here? No. Oh, it just entered direct. So this is where Nix is gonna come in handy. I can just open a shell with xcaddy installed. All right. So xcaddy build, it should give me a caddy binary. So that's gonna be our starting point. You're just gonna build a caddy binary and then do some stuff with it. Let's see. And by the way, this is now running on my computer, but this is only to see how xcaddy itself works. All right, so I should have a caddy binary here. Yep. Let's see. What can I do with this? Run. Okay. So what now? Do I have anything localhost? Nope. Doesn't matter. We will figure it out. So xcaddy build gives us a simple caddy binary that we can just run, and that's where we're going to start. So let's go back here. And well, first things first, we need to create a build function. And we want this to return probably a file. So this is going to build or create a caddy binary that we can return as a file. Let's just make the LSP happy for now. So how do we do that? So we are going to need a container. That's for sure. That's where we are going to run xcaddy itself. We are going to need Go. So I'm just going to use Golang for now. And we are going to need the binary itself. Do they publish a container? Yeah, the just file could be a Dagger module, obviously, but that's just too meta. So is there like, they publish binaries? Cool. I could just build it myself if I wanted to, but I usually like using the official sources. So I'll probably just use the binaries. Okay. So these are compressed archives. Let's see what they have in there. I'm just gonna download one and check out the file structure. Yeah, it just has an xcaddy binary in it. All right, so we're going to use these archives to grab a certain version of the xcaddy binary. I guess it's up to personal preference. I usually like using the official sources. I would absolutely prefer using a Docker container if they publish one. I don't think they have a Docker container. Let's see. Packages. No. There is no official xcaddy Docker container. I would certainly use that if they had one, but they don't. So I'm gonna use the binary itself. Again, I think it's up to personal preference. You should use whichever you want to. I'm gonna use the official binary. It's gonna make my heart a little harder, but again, why do things the easy way? So what I'm gonna do, let's go back here and let's see, do they, yeah, they have versions. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a constructor function that returns an xcaddy module, and I'm going to well, I can either accept a version. Yeah, let's not do that for now. Let's just download the binary and then we can deal with the version later. So we have the here is the Mac one. Okay, but I'm gonna need the Linux one. Okay, so I'm gonna use this, oops, as a template for now. I'm gonna download the binary and then mount it. So I'm gonna download the binary. It's gonna be a file. So that it's gonna be a file, and then I'm gonna mount it with file. Local bin xcaddy into the Go container, and this is where the binary goes. Cool. And then what do we need? We need to run xcaddy build to get a binary. So I'm going to do that with exec copilot. So this is going to be the, oh, and of course I need to return the file. Let's also set a workdir. I usually like using the /work. I don't know, no specific reason. And I think this is going to be called caddy, yeah. So this is the simplest version of this function, simplest possible version. And now I only need to download the binary. Now, it's gonna hard code the version for a moment. Yeah, and then there is this handy function in Dagger called HTTP where you can that you can use to download a binary. But this is an archive, so I'm going to need to decompress this. Okay. I'm gonna need so I have another module called arc that can decompress. Now this is, yeah, this would be nice if Dagger supported like unarchiving these archives by default, but it doesn't. So we kind of have to do that with a different module or with a module. So I'm in the right place. Yeah, Dagger install arc. Now, recently I learned that this is actually a little bit expensive in terms of like embedding modules into each other. So I usually try to keep this as a at a minimum, but I don't really have a choice here. I have to unarchive this, so I'm gonna use this module. And if I go into Dagger JSON, I should have the arc module here. Excellent. I'm gonna run Dagger develop to make sure that the module is in fact available. By the way, I should probably check out a new branch just to be sure. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna replace this with binary dag.arc .unarchive. Yep. So this is where we are going to download the file itself, and then we need to get the binary, which is called xcaddy in the archive. Now I need the dag.http thing here. And then I need the URL itself. And this is where I replace the version and the version again. It's just gonna leave Linux ARM64 here for the moment, but I will fix that in a moment. And I need version here. All right. So this should be the absolute minimum version of this module. Now, obviously, we will add a bunch of other options, but let's see if this works. So I'm gonna Dagger call actually, let's see what should just be Dagger call build. Yeah, Dagger call build. Huh, I don't know if it's easier. It certainly works. Something's wrong. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot. The HTTP function doesn't preserve the file name. Dag.http, it returns dagger.file type, but it doesn't actually preserve the name, and unarchive uses the name. So let's see. Just call it name for now. Version. Okay. And this is a handy new function that I really like. Vid name. You can call vid name on a file. Or at least I thought you can. Oops, that's the wrong place. So you can call, maybe we should break this out into multiple lines. Let's do that. So you can call with name on a file now. I think it's been added in the latest version, and you can actually rename a file, which is cool. I think it's kind of a must-have. Let's break this down one more, just for visibility. Okay. So Dagger.http doesn't preserve the file name, or maybe it doesn't know. Maybe if the file name isn't returned, so I have to call with name on it, and now this should work. Oh, I absolutely think modules should allow customizing the version, and I'm actually going to extract this into a variable that you can customize when calling the module. The reason I believe that's important is because you need to be able to lock in specific versions in case something breaks in a newer version. So I'm a huge fan of that. So this is going to become a parameter that you can pass to the module constructor. But for now, I just want to make sure that the module itself works and go from there. So this should work now, hopefully. Something happened. No such file or directory. On archive. What's happening? No such file. What? Why? Work caddy tar? What? Why? I think this is in the wrong place. Let's look. What? I'm not sure what's happening. Let's go into that module. Maybe there is a bug in there. I don't know. Let's see. On archive. Where are you? On archive. So destination, base name, trim. Oh, that's probably not the. That's probably not. That's. So it's looking for a directory called .tar because it doesn't detect the extension correctly. That's a problem. On archive, let's see. Can I just specify the destination? Let's see. Is this something I can find on archiver? Is this it? Yes. So, nice. So I can actually find this on Nix. I don't have to mess with installing it. Nix shell archiver. Let's see. So I should have the arc command here. Okay, arc on archive. Oops. What's going on here? Arc on archive. There is no help. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's find GitHub mhold archiver. And I think we need to go back to the v3 version because that's where we have the binary, and then find, let's see, on archive flag 1, 2 arguments. And what are the arguments here? File name, base name. Oh, this should work though. Like, why doesn't it work? Okay, let's. Okay, this is weird. This should work because the base name shouldn't really matter. Okay, let's try downloading the archive itself. Doesn't really matter which. And I'm just gonna move from my downloads folder xcaddy, whichever, doesn't care, I don't care, to here. We have arc here, arc, unarchive, xcaddy, what the hell? xcaddy _0. Now that's weird. Okay, let's try that one. Maybe I can figure this out later. So, oops. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna compile it from source because that's easier. Looks like something is happening. So it went past this one. What's happening now? Oh. Okay. So this is definitely weird, but if it works. So it's running the Go build now. As I said, xcaddy in the background, it just generates a main.go file and then calls the Go binary. This is what's happening now. Tags no badger. Okay. Cool. So I should be able to, let's just do some cleanups first. Do I still have some trash in here? No, okay. So let's actually export this binary here. I don't think it's gonna work, but I can certainly do this, but yeah, it's not the right platform. So what I'm gonna need here is I need a platform argument, and we are now going to start adding all those arguments that we need for this module. This is going to be optional because I want this to default to the current platform, and in this case the current platform is going to be Linux because that's where the container is running. So Golang is going to detect Linux as a current platform, and this is going to be a string, something like what's that, Linux ARM64. Now there is a handy little, do I use it already somewhere? I think so. Is it in the Go module? Maybe we'll check. Yes, this one. So there is a package in the container, the project, that parses these platforms, strings for you. So I'm going to use that here. I'm going to need this. Oops. Go back there. And I'm going to run go mod tidy to make sure the package is downloaded. All right. Probably need to do a LSP restart to make the LSP happy. Yeah, I don't care about that. And then I'm gonna do platforms, is it? Must parse and then platform. Maybe I need to, what? Ah, okay. Probably need to make this a string. That's all right. Okay. And now I can, what do I do? Width in variable. And since this is just Go, I can set the standard Go environment variables for the platform, which is gonna be OS and then, oops, we need two more, Go arc and Go arms it, I don't know. Architecture, and I think it's called variant here. Okay. And what do I do here? Do I have a default? Not here. Here. No, I don't have a default, but I can confirm the, this is nice. I can just copy this. This is probably better. So the variant is optional. So what happens if I don't have this set? That should fall back to the default platform, right? But do I have dag default platform? Yes. So that's what I'm gonna do, because the default platform will probably give me Darwin, which is what I want by default here. So I'm gonna need a context for that though, because it's gonna call. So if the platform is empty, which is when it's not provided, which is the default, then I want this, and it probably returns an error, right? Yes. So, which means I have to return an error here as well. Not very nice, but that's how Go works. So if there is an error, return that. Otherwise, platform equals B. So now the default platform, the platform is always going to be set because I will have a default here. Would be nice if I could just set the default when I call this function, but I don't think you can do that. Yep, we need to return nil here because we don't have an error. So if the platform is not set, we're going to fall back to the default platform, which is going to be Darwin, I hope. And the whole reason I did this is because I want to be able to export that binary and run that locally. So let's try this again. Let's call build and let's see if this gives us a xcaddy binary that we can run locally. That's my next step here. So nothing broke. So something, something's working. Yeah, so there is actually, they call this progma. There is actually something called default that you can do here, but you need to give it a value. So I don't really have anything to give here. Like there is no fallback to OS. Like there is no default value I can give it here. I could do something like Darwin AMD 64, but that's not what I want the default to be. So I'm gonna handle the default in the code. Let's see. It's finished. Let's see if it works. It's still format error. So probably the default for the platform is Linux then, I'm guessing. That's the default. Yeah, default platform of the engine. Okay, so let's try to set platform Darwin, unless I made a mistake in the code. So if the platform is empty, which is when it's optional, grab the default platform and return that. Yeah, I guess this doesn't really work. Okay, Darwin ARM 64, or I made a mistake here, but I don't think so. Yeah, this should work. Come on, why did you download all those? Yeah, probably it's not cached, so it has to download everything again. Okay. So this has taken a bit longer than I expected. Okay, now let's... Yes, so I have a xcaddy binary that I can run locally, and which means this function works. Now let's make this a little bit easier. I don't need this. Now I want to be able to like test this automatically. And when I build a new module, I have a functioning prototype. Usually my next step is writing a test for it. And this is why my init script actually creates a test module immediately with a template I like to use. And I can actually, like, even without writing any code, I can Dagger call module tests all. And this is going to run all the tests. Obviously, nothing's going to happen here, but oops, some trace issues. Doesn't matter. So I have like a skeleton or template for writing tests here that gets generated automatically with the module. And I like writing tests early so I can easily test if my module works. So that's what I'm gonna do. And basically I'm just gonna call this module and just check if xcaddy is running, like in this case. I could do like a more sophisticated test where I run this. I will probably do that. Maybe not in the stream, but I will probably build like a test where it runs the actual binary and checks if the HTTP server is listening and returns something. But for now, it's going to be enough for me that it doesn't exit with a non-zero exit code. So what I'm going to do here is call dag dot. I should have xcaddy here. Yes, xcaddy. It doesn't see a build function. Let's go into the test. Actually, Dagger develop tests. It should do the same. I really like the -m option because I can interact with the tests without moving out of the actual module directory. Let's restart LSP because go LSP is a piece of crap. So now I should have a build function here. Yeah. Build function, I'm going to call this binary, and then I'm just going to, let's see, I should return an error here, right? Okay, so return, nope. You will see why I'm doing this in a moment. So container, is that container? And then I'm going to return the error here. From, I'm just going to use Alpine. I like using Wolfie Linux, Wolfie OS lately, but just going to use Alpine here. With file. Copilot is actually quite useful sometimes. And I'm gonna read exec. Let's see. Do you know what you want? Not xcaddy though. Or yeah, no, it's caddy. It's not actually that smart. String caddy version, and I need to call sync on this to work. Yeah. So the reason why tests are structured this way is because I usually have multiple tests and I run them in parallel, which means the test function needs to match this function definition. And that also means that I have to manually call sync. I can't just return a container here. I have to call sync on each of these. Do I have caddy here? Okay, version. Yes, there is a caddy version. Okay, that should work. So this shouldn't fail. Like this should work, and if it works, it means that building the caddy binary was successful. So Dagger call tests all. This should run all of the tests, and this should actually invoke the module. So next time I'm making a change, I can just update the test, and I can be fairly certain that my caddy binary works as expected. So I can actually get rid of this here. I don't need this anymore. So step 1, I created a fairly functional version of the module. Step 2, created a test, and I'm going to use this test along the way to make sure that the module continues to work. Okay, now let's take a look at xcaddy itself again. Like, what are the options I want to support? Like, output obviously is not something I want to expose because that's an internal detail. I'm going to probably set this in the command arguments, but I don't want the user to set this because they expect to get a file anyway. Caddy version, see, this is optional, which probably means that it fallbacks to the latest. That is fine. I can just make this optional. And then we have a bunch of with and replace arguments that actually embeds a plugin in the binary. Like this is how I use it actually in my original file system module. And there is an embed directive that you can use to embed directories in the caddy binary. So let's start this one by one. And I'm going to start. So one thing we could do here is just add like a with argument here and then a string. And then basically every single argument that you would call a with option with would look like something like this. Now the thing you can do with xcaddy is actually you can use like a local directory in Dagger terminology. Like you can replace, you can add, you can embed a plugin from the local file system. So it would look like something like xcaddy with and then your module name and then equals and then a path like the current directory. And I actually want to do that in the original module that I'm writing the test for. Like the ideal test for this module is mounting the current version, the current source code, creating the caddy binary, and then running some tests to make sure it works as expected. So I can't really do this because it actually, the with argument accepts a number of different parameters. So what I can do is I can create a new struct. And this is where I'm going to collect those additional arguments, because by creating a new struct, I can create functions like, I'm going to call this b build. So I can create a function with, can't type. And I hate this new LSP, just getting in the way. So I can create a function like this, and this is going to collect all those subsequent calls. Like how you're going to use this is dag.xcaddy.build with something, probably a module path, and then a bunch of options. And then you can chain these calls, like you can call with multiple times. And that's actually Dagger native or fairly frequent pattern in Dagger. And it makes working with modules a little bit easier, because you don't have to like pass everything to a single function call. You can use the builder pattern, if you're familiar with it from your software engineering 101 classes. So you can use the builder pattern to create a build and then get the final binary. Now the problem here, so we have a number of these options. You can use with, you can use replace. I think the difference between them is replace just adds like blank imports to the code. Yeah, like additional imports that you want to use in your binary that are not xcaddy modules. Yes, I think that's the difference between with and replace. Now the problem with a function called with is Dagger itself actually uses that, and it's a fairly useful feature, and you can actually see that here. Like you can pass in a function to basically every Dagger type called with, and it's you can actually make changes within that function on the type, and it's useful because you don't have to break the chain of calls, and you can do things like conditionals, for example, and it's quite useful. So if I created this function called with and you imported this in your own module, it wouldn't actually compile. We can actually try this. Like, I'm gonna return nil here. This should work like normally you would expect that this works. Now let's see. Develop -m tests. I think this is gonna break, or it should. And then, or maybe it just silently overrides those with calls. I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's not gonna work. It's not gonna. The module code is not going to compile. Oh, it does. Oh, I know why. I actually need to use this function, so I'm gonna. What's happening here? I don't need these. I don't need these. So I actually need to use the type. For it to cause problems. So I'm gonna just return build here. Yeah. Let's see if I'm right or not. But this should break. Well, it doesn't. Anyway. Now it breaks. So the problem is that the code generator generates a function with the same name, so it doesn't compile. So you can't create a function called with in your own modules. So that's a problem. We need a new name for that. And let's see. I'm gonna call this for now vid module. And then there's going to be a replace module just to keep it consistent. So build module or vid module, there is going to be a module name, which is a string. Let's see what else. There is a version which is optional as far as I can tell. And then there is an optional replacement, which can be a file system path. Now, in our case, I'm gonna, yeah, we have a version, which is a string, which is also optional. And then we have a replacement, which is going to be a Dagger type call directory. And it's also going to be optional. So, by using a directory, you can actually mount something from your file system or check out a Git repository, whatever you want. But this is a Dagger primitive for working with directories. Okay. Also notice that I'm trying to keep things close to how they are named in the original CLI. This is actually, let's call this module, just to make sure what I just said is true. So I try to keep things close to the original CLI tools simply because it's easier for other people to map those concepts that they see in the tool documentation to the module itself. Yeah, the vid module thing is not a great thing, but I think it's something we can live with. So vid module version replacement. All right. So now we have two options here. Option one is creating, like storing, like when I'm going to use this module or submodule or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to call these vid module functions on this struct, and then I'm going to call something like build or file or something. So this information that you pass to the build struct here, you need to store them somewhere. You can either create a vid module struct and store them in there, or, and I'm just thinking out loudly here because I haven't decided which one I'm going for. The other thing you can do is let's call this container. You can embed a container, it's the container in the build struct, and then just attach additional function calls onto it. Let me show what I mean. This is going to be private because I don't want anyone to use it outside of my module. So one thing I can do here is return, like this is method chaining. Oops. So I have to return a build struct or a pointer to a build struct. And I need to like save these variables somehow. So one thing I can do is return, can't type today, return a build struct. And since this is already, like I have to create the build struct somehow, I already have a container here, so I can just use that container. And I'm gonna add with exec for now. Yeah, I can't really do this here, can I? Yeah, I can't, like, Yeah, I can't really like. What I could do is grab the existing command and change it. I don't really want to do that, so this isn't going to work. This is not the right way. But basically, my idea was to like mount the directory if there is one, and then just attach or append the additional arguments to the existing command. But I can't really do that. So the other avenue or the other solution I can do is create a vid modules struct and then just save these details here. Version string replacement directory. And then we also need to save these here like vid modules. And then I can save those in the list like vid module. And then this is going to be like vid modules append So basically, instead of modifying a container, which I often do in other cases where I don't need to append like parts of the command, I'm just gonna save all these details here in the type itself. And then at the end, I don't need this. Let's just get rid of this. I'm gonna need this command here, like, so instead of having this on build caddy, I'm gonna move this to the build. Let's just call this build for now. Build struct. Now, obviously, I'm gonna have to change the test as well. But before I do that, let's change this build function a little bit. So I already have the modules here. Let's also fix this here. So I'm going to call this build. Okay. So what I need to do here is I'm going to start an args slice here, and then I'm going to loop through all of those vid module arguments, vid modules. And the nice thing here, if there is none, nothing's gonna happen. Vid module. Now I have a few things to think about here, like I'm gonna need the module name first. If the version is not empty, yeah, Copilot sometimes is quite useful. So if the version is not empty, we need to attach the version to the argument itself. And the last thing to think about is the replacement directory. Now, if the replacement, hello, is not empty, yes, that's one thing I have to do. But this is gonna be different. And lastly, of course, is this 2 dashes or 1? 2, okay. So for each module, I'm gonna create a new argument here. If there is a version, I'm gonna append it to the argument. But the replacement directory is a little bit tricky because I need to mount it somewhere. Let's see, how do we do this? So one thing I can do is just use the module name. That's probably the best thing we can do. So we need to, if there is a replacement directory, we need to mount it. Now, that also means I probably have to move this up a little bit, creating the container itself. Yep. So let's take this piece of code, move it up here. Gonna save it in a variable called container. Now, obviously, I need to change this part here. Container. Okay. And I can just use args here. Anytime now, LSP is gonna realize that this is actually okay. Or maybe I can help it a little bit. Or not. What's happening? Expected. Oh. Okay. So what I'm gonna need to do here is mount the replacement directory in the container. So I'm gonna do container equals container with mounted directory, because I'm not gonna use this container afterwards. And we are inside the work. I'm gonna call this, then I'm gonna add another level called width. And yeah, this should be okay. I probably need to save this in a variable. I'm gonna call this mount path. Use the mount path here. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work. Like, I have a feeling this has to be a relative directory for xcaddy to work, but I'm gonna try this anyway. And yeah, I'm gonna have to create an example module. Or maybe I can just download my file system module using Git. But this should work. And just to make sure that I haven't broken anything, let's call test to make sure it still works. No, it doesn't. Something's wrong. Oh yeah, I have to change the test. So xcaddy build. Now this is gonna be build because it's gonna be called build as well. Or isn't it? Like, what's happening? Did Vim? Thank you, no, Vim, you just exited for no reason. What's happening? Seriously? I mean, I have no idea what's happening. No, Vim sometimes just doesn't work. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Just opened another new Vim inside new Vim. So, why doesn't it work? Dagger develop -m tests. Let's see. Let's help the LSP. Nope, it's still. So change the original one to return this. Ah, I'm in the wrong directory. Help LSP again. So this is a little bit weird because I have a build high-level function that returns the build struct, and then I have another build. We're going to change that a little bit later, but I'm just gonna go with it for now. Okay. So we didn't, or I didn't break anything, but we also haven't really tested this thing. So I'm going to create a new test. I'm going to call this vid module. And I'm going to add it to the suite of tests. Vid module. And I will probably, like, there are a bunch of different test cases that we can create here. Like one thing I could do is just pass in a single module name and see if that works. Like pass in a module and the version, pass in a module and the replacement directory, or all three. Those are the options or combinations that make sense. And I probably want to test all of those. So what I can do is I can, like, it's not very nice, but I can actually create some sub-tests, if you will. And or actually, let's copy this one. And I'm going to call this vid module. Or you know what? You can do something else that's probably nicer. Let's copy this and call this vid module. And I'm going to call this vid module as well. And then rename this as well. Am I doing this right? Vid module, this should return vid module. Yep. Basically the same pattern as I did with the build struct. I'm just doing the same with tests. I don't need this one. I'm going to call this module name. And I'm going to create that function as well. Module name. I'm going to delete this for now. Just return nil. Okay, and now I can do this. Hello. Oh, this should be under tests. All with module. Yeah, it doesn't need a context. So obviously it's a little bit more work. It also requires you to spawn another coroutine pool, which is not very nice. But one thing that you can do now is, instead of running all tests, you can just run the tests for the vid module call. Since we have more than one test, it actually makes sense to do this. So I'm going to run all the tests all the time, because why not? But I'm going to develop them one by them. So the first one is when you pass in only the module name. And I'm going to just copy this code here. We can refactor later. So let's see, build. And I can do vid module. And I'm just going to use my own module, like, because why not? What was it? xcaddy fs s3. So this should result in a working xcaddy binary once again. Let's see if that's true. So let's run the tests again, because that's how you verify if things work. Obviously, it's not going to verify that my module works, but at least it returns a working xcaddy binary, which is good enough for me. Seems to be working. And it probably makes sense to take a little bit of a detour here. And before writing another test case, like, I just want to make sure that this whole module replacement thing is going to work. And one way to do that, for me to do that very quickly, is to take a look at the actual code. And if I go back to the documentation here, there is, where is it? There's a skip cleanup and a skip build. Do I actually want to do that? Let's just see if this works, because if it works, I don't really care what the generated code looks like. So I'm gonna have another thing here. Let's call this version. I said version. I really can't type today. And if we take a look at the generated code here, we have an xcaddy build with module ops. Xcaddy build with module ops. Not very nice, but we don't really care. Fill it, please. Thank you. And it expects a version. Let's see. Can I? Yeah, let's use this as a version. Or you know what? Let's go back one version just because we can. Uh, 0.1. Okay. And once again, just run all the module tests, which is gonna work, but not gonna be accurate because I haven't added them here. So it's gonna be called version. And let's just rename this to name. I don't know. Just call it name. Call it module. Can I do that? Can I call it module? Is it a reserved keywording goal? No, it's not. Okay. Haha. Okay. So this should work. Let's see. Running the tests again. Something's happening. And I just realized, like, as I said, we are going to fix the naming problem. But I already have like 3 different places where I have these duplications. So I'm gonna fix that as in the next step. Okay, so the tests are passing, the version is working, probably, hopefully. Yeah, we should probably have some better tests, like making sure that these are actually downloaded. I think xcaddy has a command that lists all the modules, so maybe you can take a look at that. But first, I want to make sure like the naming problem is fixed. And well, one thing you often see in Dagger modules, and I think that's what I'm gonna do here. So I could call this file, and then this would look like this. And it kind of makes sense because I could potentially like create something like this, like a container function. And I could just build a container, not just a binary. And is there like an official xcaddy Docker image? I think there is one. Yeah. So one thing I could do is build a container, not just a binary, and use the official image as a base image. Sounds like a good idea. Or I could call this... So this is something you often see in Dagger modules, and I think it's kind of nice that when there is only a single core type or a couple core types that make sense in a certain module, then you will just call the function that returns the type the same. Like the file returns a file, container returns a container. But I think I'm gonna call this binary. I'm gonna call this binary for now. Maybe I'll change it later, but I'm gonna call this binary for now. It's also easier to update later. Like before, it was called build, and like which build do I have to update? So I'm gonna call this binary, and then if I change it later, it's gonna be easier because I have to update that one function. Binary. Okay. I also need to run Dagger develop because I need to regenerate the code. Okay, so and the last thing I want to test with modules thing is I want to make sure that I can use a replacement directory, because that's the feature I'm ultimately interested in. And I don't really care about the version and the replacement working. Like that's the same thing. Maybe I should create a test for that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just gonna replacement, gonna set it to nil for now. What I'm gonna do is, let's see. Copy the SSH HTTPS. Yeah. So there is a useful little thing in Dag, which is called dag.git, and you can give it a URL, and it's going to download the Git repository for you. Now I'm gonna need, can I get 3 or something? No. Okay, I'm gonna say branch, just give me the latest, and then 3. Yeah. Yep. So this is gonna be, it should be. Yeah, I think so. Like there is also a commit that you can use, and there is also a ref. So you can actually use refs, not just branches. This should probably, like, I'm gonna add the to do here, lock to specific version. Go back to branch now just to make sure it works. But yeah, this should probably lock to a specific version, so it always works. And I'm just gonna copy this and paste it here. And I'm not gonna do this part. Now, this is gonna be interesting because I'm not sure an absolute path is going to work here. So we'll see if that works. I don't really know. But if it doesn't, we can go back here and fix this. Replacement. Yeah, this should work. And the only thing I need to do is actually add it to the list of tests. So replacement. Okay, let's run this. What I'm doing, yeah, test. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think you can shallow clone here, or I'm not sure you can. But there is actually another module developed by Solomon himself. Daggerverse git. So many Git modules. Here it goes. So there is a Git module here which mimics the Git CLI. You can use that if you want to. One caveat though is if you use this module, the return type or the core type is called Git. So it's gonna basically overwrite the core Git repository function. So just something to keep in mind if you use it in basically any of the dependencies of your modules, the core Git type is gonna disappear. Just something to keep in mind. So let's see, let's go back here. Tests seem to work. So it looks like I can use an absolute path here. Okay, we'll test that a little bit later. Like this is good enough for now. Let's see what else can we do. Let's go back here. Let's do xcaddy version. Like that's also an optional argument. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to add that here. So one thing you can do is let's see. Let's actually do both. Like I can add the xcaddy version here. And I'm just gonna call this. I'm gonna call this version for now string, and it's gonna be optional because I want it to fall back to the latest version. Optional. And I'm gonna add a version here. Version. So I'm gonna do it this way, and then I'm going to create a vid version as well. I know it's redundant, but kind of like giving users options. One way to use this will be like Dagger call xcaddy build version, I don't know, 2.8.4. I don't know if it's a existing version or not. I think it is. And then binary. So when you're calling this from the CLI, I think this is a little bit nicer API. The alternative is Dagger call, what's that? Xcaddy build vid version and then binary. So I think the previous one is nicer. Obviously, like with the module thing, you can't really avoid the chaining. But well, one thing I could do here actually is I could do vid modules or just vid. So I could do this here. Like obviously I would have to parse this and then add it to vid modules. So then you could do the previous thing from the CLI when you call build. So that's something we could do. I'm not sure if I want to do that, but let's go with this for now. And then I wanted to like create a version. It's gonna return build as well. Vid version. And so I'm gonna stop returning new structs. It doesn't really matter anyway. Like I think it's always gonna be a different instance. I'm just gonna set the version and then return B. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Because if I return this as it is right now, then it's gonna be like it's gonna lose the version argument if there is any. So where are you? Here. b.vid modules equals yep, and am I doing this right? Yeah, I think so. Okay, and then return B. So again, technically this changes the original struct because it's a pointer. I'm not even sure this has to be a pointer, but that's how things has been in Dagger before. So I think this should work. Let's run the tests to make sure. And I'm gonna run all the tests at the moment in this case because I'm not working specifically on the vid modules thing anymore. Should work. Yeah, I think this is gonna work. Now, I should probably write a test for this as well. So where is my trusty test template? I'm gonna do version xcaddy. It's gonna come here. Xcaddy build. Oops, it doesn't exist at the moment, but once the tests are done, I can run Dagger develop again to regenerate the code, and it's gonna magically appear. I don't even need to kick the LSP. Nice. Version, and I should be able to feed latest in here. Again, I should probably lock this to a specific version, but for the moment, this should be okay. And this isn't gonna work because I haven't added version here. Now, while this is running, I can actually write my other test, which is going to be vid version, because I want to test it as well. And maybe like I will probably have to change this later. Like I don't want to spend too much time on this at the moment, but I'm gonna use something else here. Like I think there is a version like this. Like I recall there is a 2.8.4, but I think this should work. And it's the idea here is that this subsequent with version call should override the latest version. And then I should probably add a test here to make sure version is correct. Let's just with version. So while this is running, let's see what else can we do. Like we should probably get back to exposing the version itself, not downloading the binary here. Like this is a little bit annoying. Let's see, what can I do here? What should be the next step? Maybe it should be, yeah, let's start with the module version, and I'm gonna add a module constructor here. Return xcaddy. So version string, this is gonna be optional. And since like normally I would use official containers, but I don't have an official container, so I kind of have to use this version as a fallback. One thing I could do is go to the GitHub API and figure out the latest version. I'm not going to do that for now. I'm just going to use this version. Default. And then I'm going to save this. I could set this to private. I've been on the side of making everything private that you don't actually need. I'm going to leave this public for now because I don't really mind if the version is visible. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's not like you can change it. So from a defensive API design perspective, this should be fine. If I wanted to like implement a function that calls the version command of xcaddy, that would be a problem, but I don't want to do that for now. So let's get rid of this and now this is an interesting problem. I'm gonna just move it back for a moment. So the version itself is part of the xcaddy. That's the parent module struct. I'm gonna need that in the children. Let's call it the children because, or child. It's not really a child. There is no inheritance here, but it's a let's call it submodule. So I'm gonna need to use this version in this submodule. How can I do that? And the way I've solved this before, and that's what I'm gonna do, is where is build? Where's the build struct? Oh, it's here. Is basically embedding the parent module into the child, and this is this is very useful when you have like a source argument. Let me actually show you how that looks like. Let's move this here. So I'm going to go to a different project just to show you how that looks like. Main.go. So there is this CI, I called it CI in this project, struct where we have a source argument that's either the source code from the local file system, or if it's not specified, it could be a Git repository if it's running on CI. Now this source, well, in this case, it's not the CI itself, but in this case, it's the source that's passed around to child struct. So for example, if I go to here, you can see that when I call the lint function on the parent module, I actually set the source on the child module as well. So that's what I'm gonna do here, except I'm not gonna set the version directly. I'm gonna use xcaddy itself, the parent module itself, and I'm gonna make this private because I don't want anyone accessing it outside of like there is no point in exposing this. So now what I can do is go back to here, and I can xcaddy.version. It's not B but B, and there's a missing D in there. Yep. Okay. And now I can get rid of this. And the reason why I haven't just two reasons really why I haven't just passed the version to build, because I already have a version here. I could rename this to caddy version. I probably will. It would probably make sense. But the next step I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna also expose Go version. Because I can also, I need Go in here, and if we go down, you can see that I have a Go. container here. So I'm also gonna create Go version string here. And I don't want to like copy paste all of these. I'm just gonna use the parent module Go version. And I should probably, like, I could do other things here, probably will. Not at the moment, like Go container, like I could pass in a Go container. It would probably make sense because besides the version, there are other things you might want to set in a Go related build environment, like cache volumes, a couple other stuff. But let's stay with Go version for now. And let's see, Go image, Golang. If there is a Go version, come on, it's there. Go image, nice. Copilot is useful sometimes, but you still have to double check, like Go image, and then, yeah, Go version. Let's replace this, run the tests. They should pass. Okay, what else can we do? Like, we do have a couple additional arguments, like, let's see, replacement or replace, but that's kind of the same as with, so it's just a little bit of copy paste. Maybe you can reuse some code there. Embed is an interesting one, but it's basically just mounting a bunch of directories again. Yeah, those are not very interesting, not very different from with. I will do those, but maybe not under Steam, or maybe later. I'm going to focus on some of the interesting stuff that I can do here. Looks like they need the V prefix. Let's see. So I'm a little bit worried that my tests are not actually that useful. Like this should work, but maybe I should actually do some tests. Like, okay, let's try this. Oops. Now, this is why you write tests, because sometimes you make a mistake and they will catch it for you. Like, but I'm not entirely sure this is my mistake. Maybe it isn't. Main.go. Let's see. 84. What? xcaddy. Oh, maybe I didn't set. Oh, yep. I actually need to pass this to the child. Struct. Yep. This is why you write tests. This is why writing a test is your first step, or second, or third, doesn't matter, but do it early. Okay, this is now working, so that should be fine. Now, what else can we do to make this a useful module? Let's get rid of this for the moment. So I had a platform argument somewhere. Maybe I should move this to build as well. Yeah, let's do that. It's okay. This is just housekeeping, but now that the binary function is moved to the build struct, this is probably better up here. And let's see, platform, probably need to edit here then. And the nice thing is I can actually use the core type for the platform, which is another recent change, I believe. Platform unknown field, because it's called platform with a capital P. Okay, just keeping these arguments logically grouped because I don't know, makes sense for me. Platform. So now you should be able to do things like Dagger, call, xcaddy, version, platform. Maybe it doesn't belong here. Like maybe this makes more sense. Yep, I changed my mind. I'm removing this from here. I don't know. Maybe I'll add it back later. I don't know. Did I remove it? No, it's here. Okay, what else? Now, another thing I like to do, and I've kind of been messy in this case, but if I go to another module I have, let's see, the Go one is in a good shape. So kind of like commenting, because these will show up in the CLI. If I go here and Dagger, call, and run help, now I can see that there are a couple different functions. Actually, oh yeah, because these are return. Oh, okay. So quickly, I'm gonna allow the version, but I don't like the Go version thing. So I'm gonna make this private. So I have a build function, but there is no like help here. And then if I run Dagger call build and help, like there is no, like there will be a bunch of arguments and functions and no information how to use them or what to call them with. So one thing I like to do is, and let's go back to my Go module, like I like to comment these arguments so that they actually show up in the CLI help and on the Daggerverse website. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to create a module level documentation because that's going to be the one that shows up on Daggerverse, and I usually just copy the tool's short description because this is basically the tool, except it's a Dagger module. So I have the comment there, and then I probably need a couple of comments here, like what is this a version for? Xcaddy version. Well, this is kind of trivial, but I'm gonna improve on these a little bit later. This actually belongs here, and then I'm gonna add this here as well. What else? So this is the caddy version, so it makes sense to highlight it. What else? Vid version. Once again, this is the caddy version. Vid module. Now this is a little bit more interesting. Like this absolutely makes sense to document properly. Let's go back to xcaddy, see if they have like not very useful. Okay, let's leave this out for the moment. One other thing, you can actually have a like a function comment. So build xcaddy with plugins. Nice. Copilot figured out what this is. So you can do those. Yeah, what else? Let's see. Okay, so I think I've done most of the basic stuff that I can do. A couple other things that I will probably do. I don't know, maybe now, maybe not now, is improve on the test. Like right now, yeah, it runs caddy version, but I have no idea if this is actually like logically correct, or if the module with the specific version is available in here, so I will probably improve the tests. The other interesting thing, like when I was going through the README here, I found this concept of embedding directories interesting, which is nice from a Dagger perspective, because you can just, where is it? Embed. Because you can, once again, use Dagger primitives like a directory and embed it there. And yeah, what else? Let's see. xcaddy version. Maybe we can do like an inspect kind of thing. Yeah, let's do that. So sometimes it's useful to go into the container and figure out like what's happening there. And it's not very easy to do that. Or actually it is, but you need to be a bit clever about it. So I'm going to do this on the build struct here. I'm going to, like, we have the binary thing. By the way, I should probably add some documentation here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an inspect function that's going to return a terminal, which is another core type. And what this is going to do is it's going to, for now, just return nothing, but it's going to open a terminal basically within a certain container. And let's see how we can do this. Like, we are going to need most of this code. By the way, I should probably move this out somewhere. So we're going to need most of this code. Basically the same function, except it's not going to return a file. It's going to return a container and the terminal and the terminal type of that container. So let's change this function a little bit, or I'm going to create a copy of this function and then refactor later. And I'm going to call this build. It's going to be an unexported function. Let's see. I'm going to need all of these. Optional doesn't make much sense here. And I'm going to need with exec, but I'm not going to need this part. I'm also not going to, like, I'm going to return a container here. Do I need the context? Where do I use the context? Oh, I use it in the default platform. I'm gonna need that though. You know what? I'm just going to remove this. If you don't specify a platform, it falls back to the engine anyway, so this doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm just going to comment this out for the moment. I probably need to change this part here to this. Yeah, so if there is no platform, I don't want any of this to happen, so I'm returning early. Otherwise, I'm gonna parse the platform, do the exact same thing as before, build a command, mount everything, and then what I'm gonna do is yeah, in this case, I'm not gonna need the error, so I can get rid of this, which is nice because I can just return a simple container. Do I need a platform? I need a platform. Okay, I don't need this. Okay. Nice. Now I can change this around a little bit. Like I'm not gonna need to return an error here either. And oh yeah, that's the whole thing I wanted to do. Like I don't want this context here. Hopefully I don't need it. Okay. So now I can remove all of this from here. And I can do build. Let's plus the platform. I don't need this, but I do need the file. Oops. Okay. And I don't need the context either. And I don't need an error. And I don't need this either. Okay, this should work for now. So the reason why we are doing this, or I'm doing this, is because I'm gonna need the container itself for the build, not just the file. So I extracted that part of the binary call, and now I can actually use this. Do I need a platform? Yeah, let's do this. Let's do platform. I'm gonna still call this inspect. Still gonna use the platform, and this is gonna return a terminal. And instead of a file, this should return. Is it called terminal? Yeah. I don't need this part. Okay, so I need to set a couple additional things for this to work. Let's go back here. So I want to skip the build for once. Like I don't want the build to actually run. I just want xcaddy to generate the main file. And it also implies that this cleanup will be skipped. So that's good. Let's go back here with env variable. And it's set to 1. Okay. So what this does is I can now Dagger call build inspect, I believe. And it's going to, oops, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because I set this environment variable after the with exec thing. Okay. So let's do this then. I'm gonna add the second parameter here. Skip build, which is nice because by default it's going to be false. And before, let's do this. Before the with exec thing, I'm gonna add another with. Function. And if skip build is true, if skip build is true, I'm gonna set this environment variable. Not very nice, but it's gonna do for the moment. I also need to set this, okay. So this is false here. Oops. And this should be true. Now let's try this. Oops, it actually started. Is it running? What's happening? Yes. Okay, so there's nothing here. xcaddy didn't run. I should find, yeah, there is a build env directory there. Hello. Build. Obviously, the terminal within NeoVim within Dagger is a little bit interesting here, but let's take a look at the file generated here. So as you can see, the build didn't run. I don't have any xcaddy binaries, but I do have like the generated code. And this is how xcaddy works. It basically generates a main.go file. It also generates a go.mod file here with a lot of different stuff. Yeah, this is the latest version. Let's actually try to like call build version 2.8.3. That's an earlier version, I guess. That's gonna show us if it's installing the right version. Go.mod. Let's see. No, it's not. You know why? Because I haven't actually used that version anywhere. Because I'm a genius. So if yeah, Copilot got it wrong this time. Like this. Yeah, so if there is a version set, we add it to the list of arguments. So now this should work. Always verify that your tests work. That's like another quote of wisdom from me. And as you can see, like it doesn't it doesn't work. You need the v prefix, and I'm guessing the tests are failing now as well. So I should probably fix those as well. Where is that? Where are you? Version latest? Yep, here. I'm guessing these are actual git tags, not versions. So, okay, let's go back again. Go.mod. Let's see. Version is right. Okay, so now it's working. So this is why I actually wanted to take a look at the generated code. And especially with xcaddy, like if you go to the README, they actually recommend doing this somewhere, like just creating the main.go file or creating it yourself and checking that everything is right. So this is why creating something like this is useful, because you can like go into the container without messing with the build itself. You still have to use the binary to get the binary out of Dagger, which is nice. It's a, you know, if you like writing defensive style APIs, this is nice. But if all else fails, you can still use something like this to go into the container and figure out what went wrong. That's like useful for debugging. Sometimes, I see people calling this debug. Sometimes I call it debug. Lately, I'm calling it inspect. Okay, so what else can I do here? Let's see. Should we go and maybe refactor this a little bit? Like these are. Let's add replaces and then refactor this. So I can maybe rename this. Inspect sounds more formal. Maybe I don't know. You know what? Let's actually publish this. I think this is ready for publishing. Maybe the documentation is not very nice, but we can improve on that later. So let's see. One thing I still have to do is, let's see, how do I... Yeah, so this is still a little bit like manual, but I do need to add the module here, and I'm not even sure it's gonna work. It usually doesn't. So xcaddy, and then add it here as well. It doesn't hurt enough to come up with a better structure. Probably when I have like hundreds of modules, it will, but for now it's manageable. Okay, so new module is ready. Let's take a final look and then commit and push the module. We create a PR. The nice thing about how the tests are structured here, like it's in a, as you can see, if you go into most of my other modules, I do have a tests submodule in there. And that's how my CI is structured. It basically spins up a new workflow run for each of these modules and runs the tests submodule for each of them. So let's create this module, and maybe we can get it published to Daggerverse as well. We'll see. It doesn't usually work, so this is what Solomon calls shame-driven development, when I passive-aggressively mention something that doesn't work. Do I have, where is xcaddy? Yeah, it's not triggered yet. Come on. These are usually quite quick, by the way. Like, I've moved to this new test structure a couple of months ago, and now these tests usually take like a minute to run. Before that, it was like, I don't know, 6 minutes, 7. So this is okay now. Max length for a module name. I have no idea. I don't think so. It's a good question. Like, it probably doesn't make sense to use very long names because you actually have to use the module names. By the way, as I mentioned before, there is a price, or importing modules is expensive. This is why, like, every time you run the same module, you actually have to pull in the dependencies of your modules and then compile everything. So there's a price for pulling in other modules as dependencies. So initialize. What's going on? Finish already. Like, is it going to be one of those cases where initialize takes like a minute again? Oh no, no, it's happening. Okay. By the way, this should, like, you can see that I'm downloading the binary. The nice thing about how the whole thing is structured is that this only happens once. Because Dagger is clever enough. Now, exec format error. I might have been wrong about how the platform works. This is weird. Maybe I have to... Okay, hang on. Let's go back here. Maybe I do have to keep the default platform around. Let's I don't know. Let's see again what's going wrong here. Exec format error. I'm guessing this is, oh wait a minute, xcaddy. Oh, I know what's happening. What's happening is I've used ARM64 here, which I probably shouldn't have. Instead, I should have, what should I have done? Let's go back here. xcaddy releases. ARM64, ARM v7. Like, are these? Okay, so we need to like detect the platform, and in this case, it's gonna be the default platform. So how do I do that? Do I already have some piece of code somewhere? Let's see if we can cheat. I think we should be able to. Like, I think I'm downloading the binary here. Runtime. Perfect. Like, that should be, that's perfect. So here, I don't want to do that many duplications. It doesn't matter. Let's just do this for now. So it's gonna be runtime.go as runtime.go arch, I believe. Okay. And the same thing here. Like, let's just copy this. And then here, I know this isn't very nice, but it works for the moment. So I'm gonna do it this way. Okay. Just gonna force push it because why not? By the way, I'm not sure if I can show that to you, but my git hello command, it's force with lease, not just force. That's important. Use force with lease. Let's go back here and see. See my workflow fixed. I want you fixed. xcaddy. Why are you so slow? Be faster. Yeah, I have a bunch of jobs running, so I guess that's why. Why do I have so many modules? Starting job. There is a new version. I can't wait for it to try. Can't wait to try it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll show you how easy it is for me to upgrade to a new version in my Daggerverse after I publish my xcaddy module. Initialize, come on. Okay, so okay, now it says Linux AMD 64, so it's working. The downside of this obviously is that it's gonna download all of those codependencies for each of those tests. So one thing I could do is actually mount a cache volume. So instead of using Go version here, I could, as I said before, I could use Go container, mount a Go container, mount a couple cache volumes in that container so that I don't have to re-download all of these dependencies again. Of course, this is the last one to complete. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Just to play with my nerves. But I don't think it's gonna fail this time. Like before, it was the xcaddy binary itself that didn't work. So I think this should work. Okay. Like the way it usually works in my Go projects. Maybe I will just use the Go module, by the way. I don't know. But you can mount cache volumes in your containers, and like it's supposed to be better or make things better. I'm using Dagger Cloud, which is great. The cache support is a little bit, yeah, that doesn't always works. So cache isn't necessarily gonna solve all your problems today. Like, what's going on here? Like, seriously, oh, these are a bunch of Go builds. That might take a few minutes. Seriously? Come on, this is not that hard. Like, downloaded already everything. Like, come on. Eh. Let's go back here in the meantime, like binary. Maybe I should call this file instead of binary. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that would make things easier though, because I can add the container call, and then I don't need all these. Just call the container. Come on. 5 Go builds. What can it take so long? Why does it take so long? Okay, so once this is done, I should be able to publish it on Daggerverse, although it's gonna take another moment. But the publish should be faster, and after that I can actually tag the first version, which means it's gonna show up as a tagged module on Daggerverse. Trace, yeah, let's take a look at that. Dagger.cloud. I think this, oh, I'm not sure this is wired up to Dagger Cloud, but I can fix that. Let's see. It's not, but I can fix that, which means we're gonna have to wait for all this again. Doesn't matter. I won't. Let's go back to my thing here. Connect. Okay, let's. You know what? I'm gonna move this out of the window because I don't want you to see my Dagger Cloud token. User, no. Organization. Do I have this? Daggerverse. I think I already have a token there. I may have disabled it for some unknown reasons. Secrets, actions. Sorry you don't see this, but I don't want to show all my secrets to you. Dagger cloud token. Okay. There is a token in there now. I love you, Neovim. Enable Dagger cloud. Dagger cloud token. Dagger cloud token. Should work. Let's see. Dagger login. Heh. I just leaked my secret. Continue with GitHub. Dagger login. You know what? Sorry, folks. Dagger. But I can show you another thing then. So I opened a new terminal window. I don't have Dagger here because I'm in the middle of nowhere. So here is a neat trick. I can type deck here. And now I have Dagger in the form of Nix downloading Dagger for me. Cool, huh? Dagger login my org. I don't like this. I'm not gonna do this because I'm moving between projects and I'm guessing this command is going to log me into my personal workspace like forever. So I'm not gonna do this, but what I can do is I think I still have the token here. But it's gonna be in the CI as well. So it should already, oh, it's finished. Now let's see, Dagger.cloud. Yeah, I know I can switch, but I will probably forget, and then I will just be angry for not finding no traces. I guess I'm logging in them. Dagger login. Success. Okay then. Dagger call. Let's see. Oops. Wrong directory. So I'm gonna bet next time I run this, it's gonna be in my other project for my other organization, and I'm gonna forget logging into that organization. But that's okay. Okay, what's happening? Why don't I have any traces here? Ooh, that was a 500. Oh, I should go to local. Oh, that's right. It's running. This is how it looks in the trace. Cool. Now that this is done, I can go ahead and merge this. Finally, like, okay, I don't care about this. I'm merging it. It's just the Dagger Cloud token anyway. So now what happens? Ooh, I have a bunch of upgrades, I guess. So now what happens, or should happen, is I have a published job somewhere here, which should publish this to Daggerverse. So there is no xcaddy. Oh, there is already one. Nice. It's already, the publish already ran. If I can find it. Doesn't matter. It's there. But it says development and it's... Oh, I see what happened. I ran call. The Dagger call published it for me. Interesting. Okay. So I am going to tag this, which is not going to work, but we can fix it afterwards. So let's go back to the main branch. Let's do git pull. Let's do some cleanups. Xcaddy, and then git. Oh, I can just. Does it work? Just release xcaddy. It's not gonna work, I think. Yeah. So git. Oh, I love you, Noim. Seriously. Let's go back here. It's not perfect because while I don't have an initial version. So what I'm gonna do is git tag. You know what? Git tag helm. Yeah. So I'm gonna cheat. I'm just copy paste xcaddy. Okay. Push origin. Okay, this should work. So this isn't going to work because I already have, or it didn't work a couple of months ago when I last tried. But I do have a publish module which is supposed to publish the tag here. So well, this should work, but I don't think it works. I don't think it's gonna publish the tagged version, but we'll see. Maybe it will work. Xcaddy. Oh, it does work. Nice. So after the module tagging was introduced, pushing tags to modules that didn't have prior tags, like the tags just didn't appear, and now it looks like it's working. So this is how it looks like on Daggerverse. It generates nice documentation for you. This is what I was talking about earlier. The code comments removes previous versions. I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. Like if I go to my Go module, oh crap. It's not easier. Let's see, Go. So I think I still have the older versions here. I don't think it removes the earlier versions. Okay, so this is how it works. And now, if you want, should we give it a try? Module. Ha. Looks like it generates private functions as well in the documentation. That's weird. Oh, it's not private, it's just not accessible, I guess. Okay. Let's see. How about we give this a try? I changed my mind. I wanted to... it's probably going to be a lot of time. Let's see if we can do some more improvements here, and then I'm gonna call it a day. Like, I do have quite a few tests. Maybe we can actually improve this one. Like, start. Yeah, let's do that. So let's make this a service instead and call that. And I'm gonna do something clever here. So I'm going to make this a service. Is it as service? Yeah. So xcaddy service. I don't need this. Just gonna call return nil for now. So there's xcaddy. How does this work? Xcaddy run. Well, it looks like I do have xcaddy locally. It runs something. Let's go back here. I want to show you how easily you can run services, because that's a cool feature in Dagger and makes end-to-end testing stuff much easier. Do I have a xcaddy file here? Looks like I do. Okay, so what happens if I where am I? Xcaddy. Tests. Xcaddy file. Yeah, let's do this. I don't need HTTPS. I don't need debug logs, and I don't need this either. What happens if I do this? Xcaddy run. Something's happening. Do I have localhost? Something running a localhost? Something. Is there like a xcaddy default example? I don't know. Like just return hello world or something. Xcaddy hello world. Yeah, that's okay. Just handler static. Okay, give me a xcaddy file. Ah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so does this work? Nice. So I have a xcaddy file here that returns hello world. Now, xcaddy service. Actually, let's use the official xcaddy Docker official image, because I guess that works. And oh, this works too. Or I can just, okay, this is okay. So let's use here xcaddy, and just gonna quickly figure out Docker run xcaddy, or maybe I can check out the Docker file here today. Where is the xcaddy binary? I need to override this. Okay, so copy the xcaddy binary here. I don't think I need this, but I'm gonna need the current module file, source.file, that's right. Get the file, and where am I mounting this? xcaddy file. Okay. Okay, so I have the caddy service. Now I'm gonna need another container. Actually, can I just call the service from here? That would be cool. Like HTTP opts. HTTP opts. Can I pass the service in here? My typing skills suck. Experimental service host. What's that? Is it what I want? Service must be started before the URL is fetched. Okay, but what's the URL? Or okay, I don't think this is gonna work, so I'm just gonna go back to dag.container from Alpine. With service binding, yep, caddy, and then I'm gonna mount the service here. And then I also, like, let's make it a little bit nicer. I'm gonna need to call sync here as well. And with exec do I have curl in the default Alpine container? Nope. Again, this is not the nicest solution, but it's gonna work for the moment. Okay, why? What's happening? I love you, Naoim, so much. APK add curl, I guess. Is it how it works? Yep. And then curl HTTP caddy. And yeah, I should probably compare the output, but this should be okay for now. So xcaddy dagger call, and I'm just gonna run that one test for now. Test, I think it's called test. Yeah, let's see. Okay, something happened. Now, one more thing I'm gonna do is compare the output so that it matches hello world. How do I do that? I think I do have a couple examples somewhere, like a test. Let's see, grep. Oh, exclude deers. Now this is the only thing I don't like about Nix. looks like I don't really have a test for that, so I have to figure out one. Okay, so instead of calling sync, I'm gonna call standard output. I'm gonna call this actual, and I'm gonna return early. Come on. I'm certain I have some snippet too. Okay, I don't care. So if actual not equals hello world, return an error. I love you, Neowim. And just to make sure this works as expected, but it doesn't. Okay, what is happening? Unexpected response. What? What's that? Error F. I love you, Neovim. Unexpected. Let's see. Come on. It's gonna be a new line or something. No. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I know. I have to expose a port. Not here. Here? Yeah. Still nothing. Now that's interesting. Caddy, port 80, binary. Oh, could this be the new? I don't think so. Let's see. So I know the entry point is now being skipped, but I figured that is only for videxec. No, it's running. That's caddy run. That's the right config. Caddy file. Okay, so this is where things get interesting. Now let's test service, and I'm gonna return a service, and I'm gonna return let's just return caddy service. This is how you can debug what's happening. So what's happening with the service? Test service up, I believe, and I may have to expose a few ports. We'll see. Or maybe I won't be able to expose ports. Yeah. You know what? Let's go random. I hope it's gonna. Yep, I think this is the port that I'm not gonna be able to copy because I love you, Naomi. Okay, localhost 64136. Okay, it does work. So what's happening, please? So the service works with service binding. Maybe I'm adding it at the wrong place. Curl xcaddy service. Let's try this again. Maybe I was running it from the wrong place, or adding it as a service at the wrong place. I know multiple execs can screw things up. Okay. All right. Test number 2. Creating another test function. And I'm gonna return a terminal, because why not? Instead of the standard output, I'm gonna return terminal. It's port 80. I don't know. Could be. We'll see. Test inspect. I think this should default to port 80, but I don't know. We'll see. Or I should probably remove this. But so curl xcaddy, nothing. 80, nope. Interesting. Like, returning the service works and the exposed port is 80. Let's see, ping xcaddy. It pings. Let's try something else other than 80. How do I change it? Maybe it's it's a port problem. Let's call Dagger inspect. Curl xcaddy. Oops. Hello. HTTPS is off, buddy. Yeah, I think internal error just keeps getting better. Okay, what the hell? 80. I use that here. Excuse me? xcaddy disable HTTPS. Oh, probably it tries, like, if it's not port 80, it tries HTTPS. Oh, the local host could be a problem as well. Okay. Let's see. That's probably it. Yeah, localhost probably means only bind on the. Okay, let's see. Nice. So we solved that mystery. We don't need these, but this is how you can figure these things out. Like, you can expose the service. By the way, why did it work with the service? I have no idea. Like, doesn't matter. You can expose the service and you can expose a terminal. Okay, so now this should work. Fingers crossed. You can see my fingers crossed. Oh, it does work. Just to make sure, I'm gonna break the test on purpose here. Just to make sure that it actually returns and compares the right things. Nice. Okay, so we have kind of an end-to-end, or rather acceptance test for the xcaddy binary that we build with our xcaddy module. I'm gonna open another pull request here. Xcaddy. I'm gonna call this end-to-end. It's not really an end-to-end test, but it's gonna work. Test xcaddy add end-to-end test. Open another PR. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop here. Obviously, there are other options to add. That I will probably do. But it's been 3 hours and I think I've showed you everything I could with how I approach building a new module. I will probably add all those replace and embed directives, but they are basically the same as this one. Like add a bunch of arguments and then add a bunch of additional arguments to the to the command here. But this is basically feature complete. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, or at least wasn't bored. And next time I'm going to build the CI pipeline, the whole reason why I've been doing this xcaddy module. Next time I'm going to build a CI pipeline for this xcaddy file system module. And since it talks to S3, I'm gonna need something S3 running there. It's gonna be an end-to-end like test. Probably Minayo. I don't know. I think that's the only open source, freely available alternative to S3. So I'm probably gonna use Minayo and write an end-to-end test, compile something with xcaddy, and then run it against S3 and test that it actually works. So if you have any questions, you can find me on, well, in a lot of places, but to talk about Dagger, it probably makes the most sense to talk in the Dagger Discord. You can find the module on Daggerverse or on my GitHub under my Daggerverse repo. So, see you next time.